the most solid player, I think the most solid foreigner that we have seen in the history of StarCraft 2, EG's Idra. You know, a lot of people like to talk about his rise and fall and blah, 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 but you know what? He has always been a top 8 contender for every single tournament he has entered since the dawn of time, won the King of the Beta tournament against Tester. So he's a very solid player. I mean, can he overcome the nerves, though?
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to make him laugh right there in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't think it was that funny. He didn't give me any sign. You see right there? That is Liquid Huk, the U.S.-Canadian dual citizenship player who resides over in Seoul, South Korea at the OGS house. Looks like we're trying to get him to laugh as well, but it's not happening, Sean. Both these players are super focused on this match. It's going to be a best of 3 in our first map. It's going to be MLG Metalopolis.
Now, we have to tell the story of these two players before hopping into the match, that they have come together in so many MLGs, most notably at MLG Columbus, I believe it was, when Huk took down Idra 2-1 in their games, where Idra left to hallucinated Void Rays. The Void Rays were not real. The Void Rays weren't real. And Idra ended up leaving that game, giving Huk a win when it should have been a clean 2-0 for Idra. Huk then won with a fast, large warp gate push. But when they remet again, Idra took that series 3-0.
Yeah, and I mean, these players, it's one of the most look forward to matches of this entire tournament. So many people love watching these two go at it, simply because of the spicy comments that they will sometimes and oftentimes trade with one another. Sean, I think it's time to get this match started. We've talked about it enough. Go ahead and hit start game.
Liquid Huk versus EG's Idra. Liquid Huk on the right, demonstrating phenomenal improvement, winning DreamHack, winning the Home Story Cup. Idra, now in the EG's Pro Gaming House in Phoenix, Arizona, where he is living full-time with his team, training day in and day out. He has a great, solid practice partner in EG's in Control, but Control plays a lot more passive. Huk plays very aggressive. Interesting to see how Idra will be prepared.
At the 6 o'clock position, we are going to have the blue Zerg player from Team Evil Geniuses. It's going to be Greg Idra Fields.
And in the left position, we see the Canadian-American representing Team Liquid. It is Chris Huk Larange, and it's close positions by air. Curious to see how that'll play out. Fortunately for Huk, he has a good practice partner in Liquid Chef. They've been sparring a lot recently, and Chef's style is fairly similar to Idra's style.
Now, we saw in a game earlier between Idra and TT1, he actually has some styles up his sleeve that we really never have seen him play before. He went for a very Zergling Infestor heavy, almost Destiny-esque build against TT1 on Backwater Gulch. It was somewhat shaky, but ended up taking that win. If you can actually refine that, or is he just going to stick to what we expect Idra to do? Well, we'll be finding out here in just a couple seconds. Don't expect a 15 hatch, though. It is quite vulnerable to, of course, any time, like you said, any time a forge is built, well, you can pretty much stop that. So should be seeing a pull going down here in just a couple of seconds from the Zerg player. Meanwhile, back over at the Protoss base, he has actually built his high ground up at the, or his pylon up at the high ground. He's built the high ground on the pylon, Sean.
He's playing SimCity, and he just decided that he wanted a mountain there, so he has built his own high ground, where he will be walling it off with a ramp. Liquid Huk continuing to do some harassment. We see that the pool, followed by the extractor planted for Idra quite late, going for an economic pool first build. And there's Huk again with the double assimilator. If Idra spots this, he could suspect that there would be a fast DT play, but also keep in mind Huk balances that strategy with a mass sentry opening. So it's difficult to get an exacting read in this spot.
They said Huk was doing some harassment. Is he playing with Idra's hair and just being annoying, or?
That would be very unusual to be playing with the opponent's hair mid-game, because not only...
Maybe it's a Team Liquid secret strategy.
that's a very strong build to make the opponent as uncomfortable as possible, because we do know that Idra's very sensitive about his hairdo.
This is true. This is true indeed. Here comes a hatchery going down at the natural expansion of Idra. As soon as he gets 300 minerals. Queen about halfway complete. The 4 lings will be headed straight towards Huk's base. Now, almost every Protoss, I believe, in this matchup at this tournament has gone for that fast expand build. Huk, however, is of course going for that 1 gate cybernetic core build right now. No expansion in sight currently.
Yeah, we do see the natural expansion planting for Idra, and you know, normally we would label this as a mistake, only having 2 in the geyser for a brief period of time, but Idra actually just has his economy so well timed, we regularly see him putting 1 or 2 in those geysers to manage his economy just right, and it's going to be a very fast Stargate. Idra despises playing against this. Even at lunch yesterday, Idra was saying, what anti-air does Zerg really have? Queen is the best anti-air that they can get, but even then, it's quite weak, and we see, oh my gosh! Forgetting an Overlord, Idra's supply blocked. He never does that. Oh no, what a gigantic blunder. You desperately need to get those drones out. You desperately need to get those extra queens out when there is a fast Void Ray coming up. And oh, it's going to be a 3-gate aggression from Huk as well.
This is something that OGS MC, a training partner of Liquid Huk, he does sit right next to him over in Seoul, South Korea. Always can be seen doing, getting the Void Rays, getting the Phoenix out, and there's the Void Rays coming out first. And Overlord is trying to get in to spot it, I believe. Nope, looks like it has stopped right on the edge. Going back over into EG Idra's base. He was supply capped for quite some time. Now we see 10 Lings in production. Evolution Chamber about to finish here in just a couple of seconds. Still only has 2 queens. He also is now throwing down a Spore Crawler there at his natural, fearful of DTs perhaps.
Now, if Idra does walk up to this front and sees no expansion, he's going to immediately know that something is up. The Void Ray is just chilling in the main right now. If I were Idra, I would almost certainly be expecting some sort of DT play. I would pop up here. Oh my god, he just waltzes right up the ramp. A gigantic misstep by Liquid Huk. There's going to have to be another throwdown on a force field at the ramp. There it is. And Huk, amazingly unable to wall himself in, going to have to plant those Zealots very quickly.
Now Idra has, of course, seen the Void Ray, and currently he's just droning back at home base. The second Void Ray about to pop out. And here come the more Lings there. Oh, and a nice force field cutting off about 8 Lings. He will go ahead and clean those up, and now the 2 Void Rays are headed straight for the main base, and they're going to find some Overlords on their path there. This will not supply block Idra, at least not unless it produces some more units.
And there he is,
44.
We see the 2 Void Rays moving in. The Phoenixes are going to be the big key unit there. And with these 3 gateways, Huk can morph in any reinforcement unit that he needs, but it's the main base of Idra where it's danger time right now. We see 1 queen gets lifted. Ooh, a little bit too early. That 1 Phoenix is taking a ton of damage, and it falls. Idra will be able to pull back, but he will not lose the queen. Incredible play there by Idra, but the pressure from Huk is continuing to ramp up, and again, amazing juking control by Huk. Oh, and he takes out the queen. Idra is playing quite well, though. Huk looks like the defense, or looks like his aggression by air is going to be halted, but here comes the giant ground force.
There are no Lings in sight, 14 of them only about halfway from hatching here. Queens are quite low on HP. Some force fields try to trap them, and he gets one of them.
And there's the Void Ray in the main. Oh no, walking right past the Spore Crawler. Meanwhile, at the front, the Zerglings do hatch. Huk rearranging his forces, but unfortunately, it looks like Idra is going to have just a few too many units. But more Zealots making their way forward. We see some of those Overlords are vulnerable, and if he loses this Void Ray, that would be a devastating blow. But with just 1 queen out, and there's the lift. Once again, Idra looks like he will lose yet another queen. We see another one popping out just now. The back queen pops. Zerglings trying to take out these Zealots. Huk doesn't notice. Oh, a big, weird exchange going on at the start of this game. And it looks like the Void Ray and Phoenix do escape. Things have finally managed to calm down a little bit. Almost ambiguous who's ahead right now, as Huk was not making as many probes as he could have been.
Nexus is down. The probes have been transferred over. Popping up the unit counting station. We have 30 probes right now for Huk. 39 drones for Idra. And here comes a big attack with a ton of Lings. He does see quite a bit of sentries, so he does not want to engage in that. It's always nice to see Zerg players keeping the pressure on with just some Lings running around, even if he does not commit to an attack. And a Nidus network, Sean.
Wow, Nidus network. This is a little bit of an unusual play. Nidus network Hydralisk, a great way to make the big push at the front. You plant the you plant the Nidus network here, and you can push quickly with the Hydralisks, catch the Protoss off guard, but that's generally strongest against someone who straight early expands versus a player who does have this many gateways this early on. That can be devastating, and oh no, where does he run? Where does he run? Oh, he gets trapped and doesn't even turn around to attack. A gigantic win there for Liquid Huk, but with the Nidus network down, Idra will likely be planting the network at the front for some counterattacking, but the Zerglings are sweeping in towards the natural. Not much there to greet them. Probes, who are feeling particularly ferocious, but with this giant warp in of Zealot Sentry, this could do some damage, but those Hydralisks are right about to pop.
12 Hydras in queue. I think only about 6 or 7 going to pop here in time. This is a huge army of Zealot Sentries and a couple of supporting units from the sky. A huge force field going down at the ramp.
Oh!
The drones are now fighting. The Hydras can attack up from the high ground. A second force field even further up the ramp, and this is just not looking good right now for EG's Idra.
We do see that the Void Ray gets taken down. Zealots doing a lot of damage at the front of the base. Stalkers now getting morphed in, joining into this fight. The non-stop aggression from Huk, the wild situation, the attempted response by Idra, but he just cannot get down his own ramp. He might even be wise to Nidus network up on top so he can unload in his own entrance, but there the natural expansion falls. Idra is refusing to leave, though. He's continuing to produce a lot of Hydras, but we are going to see 4 pop on the low ground. There's a good game. An extremely crazy game to begin this series, but Huk, with that practice of aggression, in good shape.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that he is a super aggressive Protoss player in this matchup, and that was almost as aggressive as you can get. We see Liquid Huk taking the first game over EG Idra. Can Idra contain his rage and not tilt too hard going into game 2 here? We are going to be jumping to good old Shakuris Plateau is our second map.
But, you know, on that screen that we just saw, Idra didn't actually look that shaken up.
Yeah.
There are some games, you know, where the camera will zoom on him, you can just see that seething tension there. But in that game, he looked quite calm. I think it was a reasonable loss there for Idra. I think that he'll just say, you know, I misread the situation. I ran a bunch of Zerglings up his ramp trying to do damage at the start, and when I lost them, I was very low on options. Air harass almost always does do some damage, but there were just a couple of missed timings there. Idra can pull it back together.
Well, we're going to have to see here as we're going to be moving on.